Good afternoon, welcome to Winchester News Online. I'm Cameron Cornell. A statue of Greta Thunberg is set to be revealed at the university next week. Today marks a year on from the first COVID lockdown in England, and more street art has appeared in Winchester. Students on practical courses have been returning to campus over the last weeks, including drama. However, other students who haven't been able to return have been feeling frustrated, as Daisy Louise Speller reports.
After Boris Johnson reopened universities on the 8th of March, students have been returning to campus at Winchester University. Those students on practical courses, such as performing arts, have been allowed to come back into the Paul Chamberlain building to carry on rehearsals for their end-of-term performances. Philip Stainer, a lecturer at the university and the artistic director of the Strange Names Collective, says it's important for drama students to still be able to return to campus in order to make the most of their time left in the rehearsal studios this term.
What's often misunderstood about drama and the performing arts is that it's an embodied practice, so it's often about what happens between people in a room with each other or in a space with each other, and that can't easily be done or translated to something that's done on a screen.
All students expected to be back on university grounds have been asked to take a COVID test twice a week, so all safety measures are in place to ensure everyone can learn in a safe environment. As courses such as law are not being able to return, some students feel that those taking drama and other courses within the arts shouldn't have been prioritised.
Yeah, I think it's quite unfair that they've only allowed some courses back and not all of them, because I think with the access to resources and that online at the moment is incredibly difficult.
As a psychology student at the Uni of Winch, I'm not going to lie, I'm pretty mad that only the drama students have managed to go back. I'm not thinking that it's more important than psychology, law, sociology, health and social, teaching. I don't understand how they've managed to go back.
Drama, people have to interact with one another. Drama is based off of acting. And obviously with law, why couldn't they have allowed us back on campus? Because we have just as much of a right to use the resources as drama do.
With the government rollout of the vaccine going to plan, the hope is to see all students being able to return to campus in September 2021. Daisy Louise Speller for Winchester News Online.
Many students have been left confused by which courses are allowed to return to campus and which aren't. A reporter, Kira Donaghey, has been speaking to some who feel affected by this decision.
Hall, you switch off for the 2 hours that the lecture is. So I feel as though we've been let down because of that practical element. They could have done a heck of a lot more to help us. But obviously, if the government view us as a non-practical subject, because most universities that do law, it's a lot of essays really. They don't do the practical element like Winchester do, and very few unis do that. But yeah, I feel as though we have been let down.
The government restricted the amount of courses that were able to return to face-to-face learning by granting the return of practical courses, resulting in a large number of students having to stay at home and learn online. Hopefully, with the vaccine rollouts going to plan, all students will be able to return to campus next year. Kira Donaghey, Winchester News Online.
For many students working virtually from their homes, the social aspect of university has been hugely impacted. Ellie Dixon has been finding out about their experiences.
It's been a couple of weeks now since practical courses have returned to on-campus teaching at the university. However, there are still many students who have had to continue online learning. Universities across the country have been working hard to provide the best education possible under the current circumstances. However, there are many aspects of university life that first-year students in particular have still yet to experience.
Specifically for my course, I really can't wait to get into the studio, albeit again I'm quite lucky to have my own setup, what I'm comfortable working with. I do definitely miss person-to-person communication. It's been difficult to get to know people and make friends, which kind of sucks because on my music production course, making contacts is kind of what you're supposed to do, especially in the first year. But at the same time, again, I'm kind of lucky for it to be my first year because things aren't so important. Things don't count to my final grade.
Third-year students, on the other hand, like Olivia and Spencer, are facing a very different end to their time at university.
Sometimes it's harder to engage with like the learning online, especially through like online seminars. Sometimes it can be easier to kind of strike up conversation when you're in person.
It is just sad not being able to see people,
Yeah,
and kind of like have normal conversations. Even when we're back on campus, like even that small bit of human interaction when we were back briefly just made the world of difference. It is sad to think that this is kind of the end of our uni experience, and it feels quite scary going on further beyond that. I feel like we're not getting the close level of support that we would usually be getting.
Hopefully, more students will return to campus soon and the third years will get the graduation they hope for. I'm Eleanor Dixon, reporting for Winchester Online.
One area impacted by coronavirus is the volunteering sector across the university. Adele Butchard has been speaking to the Winchester Hub about their journey through lockdown.
Restriction. Winchester University's charity and volunteering sector have been getting creative in how they can continue to support the local community amid the restrictions.
Winchester Hub are the local branch of the national charity Student Hubs, which works in association with the university here to tackle social and environmental challenges, encouraging students to become active citizens beyond their studies.
The Hub run 5 main volunteering projects that see students working with the likes of schools, charities and local organisations to make a positive impact. But the removal of face-to-face contact has proven challenging.
And so our biggest change when the lockdown first happened and the restrictions came into place was that we had to go from having all of this in-person practical elements and trying to find ways to do them effectively online while still supporting both students and the local community groups that we work with.
This March, the student-led committee have pledged 30 days of activity as a fundraiser they can do remotely. But while some projects have adapted well to the remote running, engagement with the community has suffered.
People want to volunteer in person, and without that, people just aren't as willing to do it. I think there's a disconnect between it. Like, people spend so much time at home on their computers, they don't want to spend more time volunteering on their computer. But also, because we've not been on campus and no one else has been on campus, we've had limited opportunities to sort of advertise the hub and sort of showcase it. Things like Freshers' Fair and having stalls and posters around campus would really sort of expand our reach normally.
With the easing of restrictions and return to campus, the team are optimistic that they can get more students back volunteering. Adele Butchard, Winchester News Online.
Today marks the 1-year anniversary of the first coronavirus lockdown in England. One hidden impact of COVID is how the virus has affected our mental health. Daily routines and social life has been turned upside down for all families across the country. Oliver McLennan has been speaking to some students about how they've coped.
It has now been 1 year since the beginning of the national lockdown in the UK. With students being out of physical education and resorting to online classes and other forms of social distance learning, we asked the students at the University of Winchester how being away for the whole year has affected their mental health and how being in lockdown has taken a toll on them over the past year.
Now coming back to a sense of normal life, everything is just heightened. Like, any little stress that you have is just 10 times more bigger in your head.
Usually at university I'd be able to spend a lot of time with my friends and other students, just networking generally, meeting new people. So being locked down, especially not even in Winchester, because earlier this year, due to lockdown, like right after Christmas, I was stuck at home, away from all of my friends. So essentially my social life had been completely sort of deleted, essentially, which was pretty difficult.
While it looks as though that the lockdown has had effect on the students, it seems that going back to uni and returning to a sense of normality is starting to improve the mental health of the students, not just at the University of Winchester, but across the country. Oliver McLennan, Winchester News Online.
And how have staff been coping and responding to the last year? Charlie Kitchenside investigates.
As we reach exactly 1 year on since Boris Johnson put the country into its first national lockdown, it has been brought into significance how the education system has been disrupted like never before. And those in the midst of it have had to adapt their methods over the past year to make the most of a difficult situation. Those at the heart of it, faced with the organisation and implementation of teaching students across the country, are of course teachers and lecturers. I asked how they have dealt with the challenges of the past year.
Well, yes, we have, and adaptations were made very quickly. But the significant challenge was the absence and the isolation between the teacher and the students. So I'm talking from the perspective of lecturers in universities, because the subject matter that I'm teaching is about teachers in schools. So I've got a view on both, but particularly for us it was, and I'm sure this is what it's like for teachers as well, it's that distance between you and the lack of immediate interaction. That's the thing that strikes me most of all. And now that I'm back teaching face to face.
I think probably like everybody else who struggled to find the essence of teaching in an online space, I think that's the biggest challenge. People like to learn together, and I think we've had to upskill ourselves with technology very quickly, the same with students.
It's been very tricky because I think today is the anniversary of the first lockdown, so if you will go back 12 months, I don't think any of us had even heard of Teams, let alone used it, whereas here we are, we've been through the Teams tunnel, and we seem to know it quite well, both as participants and also as the people doing the thing. So now we're kind of back to face-to-face. I much prefer the face-to-face, if I'm honest, and it's been a journey none of us will forget, but hopefully we can get back to more sane times soon.
As practical courses have returned to campus over the past few weeks, and the hope of normality returning by the next academic year looms, lecturers will hope for a more stable year, which will allow them to concentrate on students' learning and relieve some of the pressures put on them throughout this pandemic. Charlie Kitchenside, Winchester News Online.
Here are the latest coronavirus figures for the UK and Hampshire. The total number of cases in the past 7 days currently stands at 38,398. This is down by 4.7% from the previous week. The cases recorded on the 22nd of March were 5,342. The number of patients admitted to hospital is down by 870 cases. The most recent number of daily recorded admissions is 440. The number
I don't know
of
if I can
weekly
pronounce
deaths
one of
are
those
also
words.
down from last week by 41.5%, standing at 593. The latest recorded number of deaths was 17. This is the lowest midweek figure of deaths for over 6 months. Moving closer to home, things are slightly concerning as Winchester has recorded 53 cases in the last week. This is an increase of 12.8% from the previous week. On the 22nd of March, 13 cases were recorded. However, there continues to be good news as there have been no deaths recorded since the 1st of March, which would suggest that the vaccine rollout has been effective in reducing the threat of hospitalisation and death from the virus.
The effects of COVID are being felt right across Europe. In Norway, the Glenfield ski resort has been unable to open, as our international correspondent Hege Hagen reports. It's causing
the slopes have remained empty, and the ski lift still at Glenfield ski resort this season, as the resort has remained closed because of lack of snow.
This has had a serious impact on the economy of the resort that is run by volunteers. Although they have managed to keep ticket prices low for many years, ticket sales are still the most important source of income for the resort.
There hasn't been enough natural snow, so the resort would have needed to produce snow to be able to open the big slopes.
I år så har det vært en ekstremt vanskelig situasjon for oss. Vi startet året med at snøkanonanlegget vårt frøs. Det er vi helt avhengig av for å få produsert nok snø, sånn at vi kan åpne den store bakken. Vi har klart å åpne barnebakken. Den har vi hatt åpen flere helger. Men det har vært en ekstremt vanskelig situasjon I forhold til snø I år.
The children's slope is free to use, so it doesn't bring any income to the resort, but it has been important for the volunteers to open it when it's been possible. Last year's skiing season was cut short because of COVID, but if the resort had been able to open this season, it would have been a place where people could meet up.
Vi ser da når man har barnebakken åpen, at her kommer de med små unger, møtes, kan være ute med avstand, kan også komme inn og få seg vaffel, noe drikk, kose litt og få prate litt og være sosial, som viktig I koronatiden.
The ski resort is important to a lot of people in Glenfield, but until there's enough snow, skiers and snowboarders will have to wait to return to the slopes. Hege Hagen, Winchester News Online.
Moving away from COVID, a statue of the Swedish climate activist Greta Thunberg will be unveiled at the university in a few days. Many have praised the statue, but it's also faced criticism, including from the student union. Isabella Jagger has the latest.
The University of Winchester is set to unveil the world's first life-size sculpture of Swedish climate activist Greta Thunberg. Titled Make a Difference, the statue is the university's latest instalment to mark its ongoing commitment to sustainability and social justice. Created by artist Christine Charlesworth, the sculpture will be one of the final touches to the university's newest building, the Westdown Centre. The university's dedication to improving sustainability across the institution is reflected in the centre, which is now one of the greenest buildings in Winchester. The university's Vice-Chancellor, Professor Joy Carter, has said, "We hope this statue will be an inspiration for future generations to stand with Greta, take inspiration from her life-saving message, and urgently make a difference in the world." The sculpture will stand as a symbol of the university's commitment to make a positive environmental impact and combat the climate emergency.
I think she's a good role model and everything, but it might be a bit of a waste of money and stuff.
I think that the Greta statue is a great representation of the university, given that the campus itself is quite eco-friendly and green.
There's been a lot of funding cuts, staff, modules. I almost experienced that myself, so not the best use of funds.
I think because the university is like a green environment and campus, the statue is positive and a good representation.
It is clear that the university is taking great strides to achieve sustainability across campus, but there is a clear divide in opinion among students regarding the institution's newest instalment. I'm Isabella Jagger for Winchester News Online.
Millions across the country completed the latest census this Sunday, yet some feel their privacy has been invaded. Kelly Haselden has been finding out more.
The census is something that comes every 10 years, and every citizen is expected to fill one out. If not, you could be fined for up to £1,000.
But no one can deny its importance. The main purpose of the census is to provide central and local government with information that allows them to meet the needs of the people by targeting the correct amount of resources and services. The questions in the census can also make up a debated statistic such as the number of dependents or how many people believe in a certain religion, but not everyone is happy with this system.
I feel the census has changed in a lot of ways, and whereas in the beginning, like when I was young, the census was very basic, but as time has gone on, the census has almost got almost like Big Brother, where you feel like there's a camera on your shoulder. I mean, when I was filling out the form, I was very worried about making a mistake and what the consequences would be, and whether, you know, if a mistake was made, whether they thought I'd done it deliberately. So I was very aware of that, I just feel the whole thing should be changed.
I'm Katie Haselden, Winchester News Online.
Last week saw a piece of street art appear on the side of a cafe at St Catherine's Hill. This week, a piece of street art has appeared in Winchester. Are we seeing the rise of Winchester's Banksy? Kit Fountain finds out more.
Winchester's Banksy has struck again. This time at the Community Food Pantry at Unit 12 in WINOL. Hendog didn't leave the food pantry empty-handed though, as this time he showed up with a box of food. alongside his painting of a young boy. Following the success of the first piece, The Boy with a Kite, many were left wondering how the City Council would respond. The council said, "The City Council does not condone graffiti and will remove it where possible. But this is a high-quality piece of guerrilla artwork, so we are planning to leave it in place for everybody to enjoy. We ask that people do not damage this artwork or add any further artwork to this wall to spoil its impact. This inspiring artwork is lifting the spirits of passers-by in these difficult times."
It's just nice to have our own small piece of decent artist. Tasteful graffiti? No problem. When people want to start putting phallic symbols and stuff around, that's not graffiti, that's just being ridiculous. But things like this, I think it's great.
But there are others who would disagree.
It's not all just vandals and teenagers, it's a community of artists that are really passionate about what they do and coming and taking the streets back for themselves to make something beautiful out of it, rather than just leaving them grey and white and all the other colours that we see way too much of in towns and cities. Every town and every city could massively benefit from a place where art can organically just grow like that.
So the debate continues. Graffiti, mindless tagging, or a gift to the community with love. I'm Kit Fountain, Winchester News Online.
That's it for WINOL for this week. Thank you for watching.